When a narcissist meets an empath, a dangerous love begins. There is a certain kind of love story that does not begin with fireworks, but with recognition, a silent, magnetic recognition. When a narcissist meets an empath, it feels like destiny. It feels spiritual. It feels intense beyond explanation. But beneath the intensity lies a dynamic that is as powerful as it is dangerous. This is not just attraction. It is a psychological dance between hunger and healing, between validation and vulnerability, between ego and empathy. To understand this connection, we must first understand the two personalities involved. The term narcissism originates from the Greek myth of Narcissus, a figure who fell in love with his own reflection. In psychology, narcissism exists on a spectrum, but at its core it is defined by a deep need for admiration, validation, and control. The narcissist often appears confident, charming, charismatic, and emotionally strong. But beneath that surface is a fragile self-esteem that depends heavily on external approval. On the other side stands the empath. Though not a clinical diagnosis, the empath is often described as someone with heightened emotional sensitivity, strong intuition, and deep compassion. Empaths feel what others feel. They sense shifts in tone, subtle emotional changes, and unspoken pain. They are natural healers. They are listeners. They often prioritize others' needs above their own. Now imagine what happens when these two energies collide. In the beginning, it feels electric. The narcissist sees in the empath something incredibly valuable: attention without resistance, admiration without effort, understanding without limits. The empath sees in the narcissist something equally captivating: confidence, strength, direction, and intensity. The narcissist feels admired. The empath feels chosen. The narcissist begins with what psychologists often call love bombing: excessive praise, grand gestures, rapid intimacy, future promises. It feels overwhelming, but in a beautiful way. The empath, who may have long desired a deep emotional bond, feels seen in a way they never have before. The narcissist mirrors their dreams, their values, their desires. This mirroring is not accidental. It is strategic, even if unconscious. For the narcissist, connection is about supply, emotional fuel. For the empath, connection is about bonding, emotional depth. And so, the dangerous love begins. At first, the empath believes they have found someone who matches their intensity. The narcissist believes they have found someone who will endlessly pour into them. The relationship accelerates. Boundaries blur. The empath gives more. The narcissist takes more. But slowly, almost invisibly, the power dynamic shifts. The narcissist begins to withdraw affection unpredictably. Compliments turn into subtle criticisms. Admiration becomes expectation. The empath, confused by the sudden emotional distance, tries harder. They give more love, more understanding, more forgiveness. They believe the problem must be temporary. They believe love can fix it. This is where the trap tightens, because the narcissist thrives on control, emotional control, psychological control. They may not even consciously plan it, but they instinctively test how much the empath will tolerate. And the empath, driven by compassion, tolerates more than most. They excuse bad behavior, they rationalize mood swings, they internalize blame. The narcissist may begin to gaslight, denying events, twisting conversations, rewriting reality. The empath, who values harmony, begins to question their own perception. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm the problem. This erosion of self-trust is the most dangerous part. Over time, the empath's identity begins to revolve around keeping the narcissist stable. They become hyper-aware of tone, hyper-vigilant of triggers. They try to prevent conflict before it happens. Meanwhile, the narcissist grows increasingly entitled to this emotional labor. Why does this dynamic become so addictive? Because both parties are unconsciously fulfilling deep psychological wounds. Many narcissistic traits are rooted in early emotional neglect or inconsistent validation. Beneath the grandiosity is often a wounded inner child, desperate to feel worthy. Meanwhile, many empaths developed heightened emotional awareness in environments where they had to read the room to feel safe. They learned that love is earned through caretaking, so when they meet, it feels familiar. It feels like home. But sometimes home is not healthy, just familiar. The narcissist feels empowered by the empath's devotion. The empath feels purposeful by the narcissist's need. It becomes a cycle. The narcissist withdraws. The empath pursues. The narcissist criticizes. The empath improves. The narcissist demands. The empath sacrifices. And yet, the empath believes in potential. They see glimpses of vulnerability in the narcissist. The softer moments, the rare confessions, the temporary apologies. Those moments feel real. They are real, but they are not consistent. Consistency is what love requires. Intensity is not enough. As time passes, the empath begins to feel exhausted, emotionally drained, anxious. They may lose connection with friends, hobbies, and even their own intuition. They give so much that they forget what it feels like to receive. The narcissist, sensing the shift, may intensify control, jealousy, guilt-tripping, silent treatment. The empath starts to awaken. Awareness is the turning point in every dangerous love. Story: the empath begins to recognize patterns. They see that apologies are followed by repetition. They notice that love is conditional. They realize that their empathy has become a resource being consumed rather than honored. And here is the paradox. When the empath begins to pull back, the narcissist often becomes more desperate. Why? Because the supply is threatened. The admiration that once flowed freely now hesitates. The emotional mirror that once reflected perfection now reflects reality. This is when the dynamic can become volatile. The narcissist may attempt to re-idealize the empath, bringing back the charm, the passion, the promises. Or they may become cold, distant, even hostile. Control attempts intensify because loss of control feels like ego death. But something inside the empath has changed. They begin to understand that love without respect is not love. That compassion without boundaries is self-abandonment. That healing someone who does not want to heal is impossible. Leaving this dynamic is not easy. Trauma bonds form when intense highs and lows create psychological dependency. The brain becomes addicted to unpredictability. The empath may grieve not just the person, but the potential, the version of the narcissist they believed could exist permanently. But here is the deeper truth. The narcissist-empath connection is not random. It is a lesson in boundaries, a lesson in self-worth, a lesson in recognizing that empathy must include oneself. The empath must learn that being understanding does not require tolerating disrespect, that loving deeply does not require losing oneself, that saving someone who refuses accountability is not noble. It is self-destructive. And the narcissist, if they ever confront their own patterns, must learn that admiration is not intimacy. Control is not connection. Dominance is not love. When a narcissist meets an empath, a dangerous love may begin, but it does not have to end in destruction. It can end in awakening. The empath can transform pain into power. They can rebuild identity, strengthen boundaries, and rediscover joy without emotional chaos. They can learn to choose partners who match their empathy with accountability, their depth with stability, their compassion with respect. True love does not require shrinking. It does not require proving worth. It does not fluctuate between worship and withdrawal. It is steady. It is safe. It is mutual. The most powerful moment in this story is not the first kiss. It is not the passionate beginning. It is the moment the empath looks in the mirror and says, "I deserve peace." Because the greatest danger was never loving the narcissist. The greatest danger was forgetting to love themselves. And once that self-love returns, the dynamic loses its power. The narcissist may move on in search of new admiration, but the empath moves forward with wisdom. And wisdom is stronger than intensity. When a narcissist meets an empath, a dangerous love may begin. But when an empath chooses themselves, a powerful life begins.